In Sanford and Son, the cast was much younger than you might expect. Red Fox was actually only 49 playing a 65-year-old. LaWanda Page was 53. Whitman Mayo shocked the heck out of me, was only 43, and Don Bexley was the only one in his 60s, but by season 6 he looked much younger. Do you remember the episode Home Sweet Home for the Age, where Fred Sanford picked a fight with this older gentleman in the hallway? In reality, that gentleman is Cha-Cha Hogan, mentioned by Leroy in a different episode. He also went on to be one of the lead singers for Fred Sanford and Red Fox's favorite group, the Ink Spots.
Did you know the first person asked to play the part of Lamont Sanford wasn't Damon Wilson? In fact, Damon Wilson was the third choice. They originally asked Cleavon Little, the talented comedian known from Blazing Saddles.
Hey, where are the white women at?
Cleavon had to turn the part down because of prior commitments. Johnny Brown, who would go on to play Bookman from Good Times, was approached about it as well. But like Cleavon Little, he had already made a commitment to appear in the TV show Laugh-In. Damon was then asked and he accepted the part, thinking it was just a quick payday and that the show wouldn't last. How wrong he was, and it's still talked about and loved 50 years later.
This is the second time, as you can see right here, even though it's not Sanford and Son, it's still Aunt Esther. Second time we've seen her without her wig. It comes off on accident. The funny thing is, this time we know it is at least planned because she's not surprised. I think the original one, I still will say to this day, either Red Fox surprised her, or her, LaWanda Page and Red Fox got together on it. So, second time we ever see her without her wig.
The one thing you said about Red Fox is you can't put him on television. Well, when he was on Sanford and Son, he was able to keep his cool and still play his fun character without using any of his vulgar language you might have heard in one of his nightclub acts. But in the episode, Old Brown Eyes, you see Rollo leaving and Fred is pissed because he gave him a fake Jackie Robinson autograph ball. As he goes to approach the door, if you're good at reading lips, and I've even put the subtitles in for you, you can see right here he says, "You lousy son of a, you mother." It's the one time in show, we'll go slower here, you get to see Red Fox actually break character from Fred Sanford.
Ah, Fred G. Sanford. Everyone's heard the phrase if you were a Sanford and Son fan. We've always wondered what the G actually stood for. Well, his older brother and his father were both Fred G. Sanford. Let's hear some of the G's.
My name is Fred G. Sanford. The G is for Guadalcanal. You are now talking to the very right Reverend Fred G. Sanford. Yeah. And the G stands for going to heaven. Fred G. Sanford. The G stands for goo goo gaga. I'm Fred G. Sanford, and the G is for grab yourself a seat.
As amazing as all those names were, in reality, Fred G. Sanford was used by his father and older brother, and in both of them, the G stood for Glenn.
All fans know in Sanford and Son, Fred Sanford's own personal anthem and theme song is "If I Didn't Care," performed by the Ink Spots. Did you know NBC would not pay for the rights to cover the song? Red Fox was such a diehard fan that he paid for it out of his own money so he could perform on the show. What inspired Fred Sanford's crazy walk? The fact is, there was no inspiration. When he actually tried on the shoes for the costume, they were too heavy, and that gave him that walk. Red Fox said himself, "Until I put on those shoes, no matter what I'm wearing up here, I'm not Fred Sanford." Did you know the actor Whitman Mayo, who auditioned for the part of Grady Wilson, never thought he would get it? In fact, after he got it, he continued to try to leave the show to go back to his business, but his character became so popular he could never leave, and producers asked him to stay, which he did. Catch in Rated X Season 2, Fred predicted the future. He told Rollo, "Why don't you try selling junk?" And he told Lamont, "Why don't you try pumping and changing oil?" Lo and behold, 8 years later in the show Sanford, Lamont was out pumping oil in Alaska, and Rollo was working for Fred. Did you ever recognize this actor from Sanford and Son? The character's name was Otis Littlejohn, and it took me years before I finally realized where I saw him. That's correct, Stymie from Our Gang Comedy when he was a young boy. And that trademark bowler hat, it was none other than Stan Laura who gave it to him. Nathaniel Taylor, who played Rollo Lawson on Sanford and Son, actually auditioned for the part with Red Fox. When they talked about their hometown St. Louis, they became tight friends. In fact, he took him on the show Sanford and the Red Fox show as well. In the famous episode Jealousy with this character, Osgood Wilcox, played by Roscoe Lee Brown, remember when he jumps up and does the judo and Fred Sanford says, "This N-word's crazy"? That was actually improvised by Red Fox, and they weren't going to leave it in the original cut, but the audience said they should. All Sanford and Son fans remember Big Money Grip played by the legendary actor Sonny Jim Gaines. We even see him again return as Bottom of the Deck Dan in Season 6. But did you know he played a bailiff in the episode Fred and Jury Duty in the show Sanford without Lamont? In the episode Will the Real Fred Sanford Do Something?, Betty Harrison comes by and thinks Grady, Lamont, Hoppy, everyone's Fred Sanford. In fact, Fred Sanford's name is mentioned 29 times in the episode, but the ironic thing, Fred Sanford's never really even in it. All Sanford and Son fans remember in Season 3 when Grady introduced us to Dolly. Unfortunately, because of Fred, things didn't work out. But a lot of people didn't know this because they never watched. In the series Sanford Arms, Grady and Dolly actually got married.